All right, guys, I'm here with our third alumni profile. I'm here with Matt Kuenzel, class of 2002. Matt and I were teammates in high school, and we were teammates in college at Geneseo. So Matt's going to talk a little bit about both of those experiences. Matt was a thrower for Saratoga and at Geneseo. So I'll just turn it over to Matt. Can you tell us a little bit about your high school career, some of the highlights and things that really stood out?
Sure. Thanks for having me, Shane. I appreciate it. I just want to let everyone know I'm wearing my Saratoga track and field shirt. This thing's probably like 19 or 20 years old by now, but I
Yeah, I
felt
got one like that.
it was appropriate to wear for this call. So highlights of my high school career. I would say a lot of my fondest memories are just being with the guys at practice and just competing. Our senior year, we finished second at sectionals, which was at the time the best finish that we had ever had before, the dominance that Saratoga track and field has kind of turned into. We lost, I believe it was Schenectady,
Schenectady.
and they
Yeah.
and they really beat the pants off of us at that point. I think I don't know if was it close. Do you remember? I don't remember.
I think we expected it to be close, but it was not.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I remember, second at sectionals was like a really big deal for us because, Shen Colony, schools like that were just powerhouses at the time.
Right.
And, personally for me, some of my kind of, best moments I think were, I set the school record in the shot put, which, still stands today. I qualified for states my junior year in the discus, believe it or not. And then my senior year, I qualified for just shot put.
Nice. Awesome. All right. So you want to tell us a little bit about your experience after high school, competing in college, what that was like, and I'll probably jump in and add a few things too, because we had such a shared experience there.
Yeah. So I was lucky enough to have the experience to attend Geneseo and, competed 4 years of track and field there. I majored in mathematics and secondary education. Uh, the experience at Geneseo was very much similar to that of my experience at Saratoga. Just very much a close knit family. A lot of feeling like we were the underdogs all the time when we went into competitions, and that
Hmm.
was something that I think I preferred instead of being the top dog and having a target on your back. I was like chasing other people. Geneseo was great. I kind of went in to Geneseo with like a chip on my shoulder. I wasn't recruited to do track and field there. I just kind of showed up. I met Woodsy, who was our head coach. Shane
Hmm.
knows Woodsy, and I remember meeting Woodsy at States in high school my senior year, and John Hook, who is Hook still coaching, or is he?
Yeah, Hook still works with us. Yep.
Yeah, so Coach Hook was at Queensbury at the time, and he was the man. He would always kind of help me out, give me pointers at meets and stuff. And that's one thing that's great about track, right? Is everyone's always trying to help everybody else out. It's not like people are cutthroat about it. So it's a great thing in that regard. But Hook introduced me to Woodsy, and Woodsy's like, oh, that's great that you're coming to Geneseo, but you're really small, because at the time I was like 6 feet, 190 pounds. I was very small for a thrower, and I was in college. And was like, yeah, you might want to think to switching to something else other than throwing, because we got a couple big throwers coming in, and like that summer, like I just went like nuts and trained really hard and ended up breaking the school shot put record my freshman year. And then that was kind of the fuel that I needed, and kind of set the tone for me for my college career. Just kind of that mentality of trying to prove people wrong because I was too small, or they didn't think I was going to be good enough. And we had a lot of success at Geneseo, and you were obviously a part of that. I think in the 4 years that I was there, I didn't do cross country, but the cross country guys, I think, won 3 SUNYAC championships, and I think there was a total of 4 or 5 indoor outdoor SUNYAC championships that we won as well. And then personally, I had some good success in the shot put. Like I said, I set the school record in that, set the school record in discus, and qualified for nationals 4 times in the shot put.
Yeah, and just to go back to what Matt was just talking about with SUNYX. So SUNYX is the Division III athletic conference for the New York State schools, the SUNY schools. So it includes schools like Brockport, Cortland, Oswego, Oneonta, Plattsburgh, Potsdam, Buff State. I'm probably leaving out a few. It's turned into a very, very competitive Division III conference. And the way that we get up for sectionals now is the way that we would get up for SUNYX in track for at Geneseo. And it was this great team event. And one of the things I think that people really respected about Matt was the way it works in college. You compete in meets, and then if you hit a mark or a PR in an event, if it's good enough to qualify for you for nationals, you're on like the national list and you get to go to the meet at the end of the season. So there's no like national qualifiers like we have state qualifiers. So anyway, usually heading into the end of the season, Matt would be qualified in one or maybe even two events, but he would go into SUNYX and he would throw all four throwing events, because in college you throw the disc, the shot, and then you add in the hammer and the javelin. And the javelin in particular is an incredibly taxing event on your arm. I remember when Kuenzel would throw the javelin, it would be like ice all up and down his arm, like you see the Major League Baseball pitchers when he'd be done. And that was something that was a choice almost. I felt like you had to make in terms of like, do I exhaust myself physically to help the team win this championship, or do I back off and then feel good going into nationals a week or two later? And you always chose the team route, which is something the guys really respected about you, and that's why you're captain and all that stuff.
Yeah, no, I mean the team, like I said, it was like a family, and it wasn't even like a hard decision for me. So when I was competing, we had a very small throws group, and for us, it was always like Cortland was our main
Right.
rival. You know, Jake Zanetti, your brother, Coach Zanetti, was on the team at that time as well. So there's a lot of intertwined Saratoga,
Yep.
track and field here. But we needed to get every point that we could. So for me, it wasn't an option to sit on the sideline and not compete in any of those events, and it was just a matter of trying to train as much as I could for hammer and javelin, but throughout the season, and save my body, and then just let it all hang out
Right.
at at SUNYX. And just because it was one of the, I think I was like the only person to score at SUNYX, but I think I was able to score like 30 plus points in the three events combined, and it was just like we needed every single point.
Yeah,
So
it always was close. Yep.
and everyone was doing that too. Like it was like all the runners were doubling and tripling, and they were coming back with less than 40 minutes rest and doing it again. So it was just kind of that mentality that we had. Being at Geneseo, we didn't have big fancy athletic facilities or anything like that.
Right.
It was just kind of like, okay, we're gonna outwork you, and that's how we're
Yeah.
gonna do it. And that's kind of that Saratoga mentality too. Like I always kind of felt like, what, like when we line up, like it doesn't matter who you are, we've outworked you coming into this thing, and we're gonna grind harder, and we're gonna hurt harder than you.
Yeah, that's a common thing that Brian and Sean talked about in the other interviews. Not just like the sort of like the work ethic and the attitude and the team culture, but also the sort of knowing it about each other and how that gave you confidence when you know that your teammates are kind of in it the way you're in it, and when your teammates are willing to make some of the sacrifices in terms of the training and the life decisions, like how you made the decision to bulk up and to put on a lot of muscle and to be able to compete with some of those big boys from Cortland and stuff like that. Those types of things, those little things add up, and that was something that they had talked about also. So that's great. You want to tell us a little bit about life after college?
Sure. Track and field's been very good to me. So after I graduated from Geneseo, I got a grad assistantship at St. Lawrence University, and I coached track and field there for 3 years. And they paid for my master's degree, which I got in educational leadership. So my initial plan was, I always had aspirations to be like an athletic director. I thought that would be just like the greatest thing. So while at St. Lawrence, I got my degree in admin, and then also worked on a phys ed certification as well, because that kind of dovetails nicely into being an AD. Then I got a job at Saratoga. So maybe some of the people looking at this will be former students of mine. I've been gone now this is my third year away. So, maybe a couple of the juniors and seniors I had. But I taught at Saratoga for 8 years and I
At
loved it.
Maple, yeah.
Yeah, at Maple Ave. So I was a math teacher there. And during that time, I also coached track and field at Union College. And, I had every intention to to coach at Saratoga, and it just never seemed to kind of really pan out for me, whether it was coaching at Union or then becoming department head over at Maple. And that's definitely something I regret. I really wish I had, made that more of a priority. But there's always a chance that I come back, and
There's always a chance.
I never rule anything out. Because we love Saratoga. My wife's from
Right.
Saratoga. Our families are there. So then after that, I moved to Providence because my wife moved there for a couple of years for her work. And now we're down in Charlotte, North Carolina. We've been down here for a little less than a year.
Yeah, that's great. I'm sure the athletes at Saratoga, even if they're elementary school kids now, would be happy to know Coach Kuenzel someday if that does work out. But we're all very happy that you're happy, so that's good.
But I think the thing that people need to know is when we were in high school,
Yeah.
me, you, and your brother, we
Yes, we
all
talked
had
about it.
we made a pact, and we said, okay, we're all going to go to college and we're going to graduate and we're all going to become teachers, because at that point we all knew we wanted to be teachers. And
Yeah.
when we do, we're going to come back, we're going to coach a track team. And I was the only person that didn't hold up my end of the bargain, because you and Jake, came back and have turned, the track and field team into, the juggernaut that it is today. So it's, as an alumni and a friend, I'm very proud of what you guys are doing with the program, and just to kind of see not only what the kids are doing at Saratoga, but what they're doing, after Saratoga. Like Mr. Ruggles there
Right.
at Geneseo,
Our boy Ezra,
yeah, he's throwing it down. He's dominating. Unfortunately, with this whole coronavirus thing, he's not able to, compete in the spring. But I think I just saw he was like SUNYAC Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, for cross country and for indoor. So he was both seasons. He was Rookie of the Year for the conference, and he was going to run at nationals that night, indoor nationals. They canceled indoor nationals like 3 hours before he was going to take off for the DMR and run the anchor leg, the mile leg, and they would have been all Americans there. So,
Yeah. I know,
and then
that was
and Peter
not too
Mahler's
far
there
away.
too. What's that?
Oh, okay, nice.
Yeah, Peter's there too.
Nice. I was just gonna say, I was planning, because I'm in Charlotte right now, and it was probably like an hour and a half away. So I was gonna drive there and see Poppy and Danny, who are the coaches there, who are guys that we competed with.
Yep.
And I was gonna try to catch up with Ezra, but it just didn't work out.
Yeah. So I guess to finish up, Matt, how about and you've hit on a lot of great pieces of advice, but maybe just to kind of bring it all together, some good advice for these guys, especially during this time period where they're really on their own. The coaching staff is posting workouts, but they're without facilities, they're without a lot of equipment, and they really can't even get together with their buddies and work out. So, what kind of advice would you have for them going forward with that in mind, and then even beyond?
Yeah, I think specifically to the first part, in terms of immediate training, having a mindset of moving the needle. There may be some people out there that are perfectionists. I definitely am like a type A personality, and sometimes I'm just like, I don't have X, Y, and Z. This isn't going to be as good as like. You need to tell yourself, as long as you're moving the needle a little bit every day and you're getting 1% better every day, that over the long term, you're going to be better. And you're going to get better a lot faster than you think you are. So all you just need to do is just kind of take baby steps towards your goal. And especially now, there's a lot of people. It's easy, right? Your mind's strong, and it's strong in the fact that if you're sitting there and you're trying to figure out, okay, do I work out or not? Your mind's strong enough to say, nah. I can come up with 10 different reasons as to why you shouldn't work out. And you just need to be mentally, tougher than that and say, you know what? No, I need to do it. And each little step that you take is going to be, a step to get you to where you want to be. A couple quotes that I would always kind of rely on throughout, my track and field career. One was, excellence is a journey, not a destination. So kind of embracing your pursuit of excellence and to kind of maximize your potential is such an awesome thing. And there's, you're not always guaranteed that opportunity in life, so you got to figure out on your own, like, where you stand on that. Like, do you want to be the best that you can be, or is being mediocre and okay like good enough?
Mhm.
But make a decision and then push your chips all in if you want to be great, because there's nothing saying that you're guaranteed tomorrow in terms of track and field. You could have, pull a hamstring, or who knows.
Yeah.
The other thing is that always kind of helped me like push hard when, sometimes I didn't feel like it, was the vision of a champion is someone who's been over, drenched in sweat and exhausted when no one else is watching.
Right.
And that is, perfect for nowadays. Because sometimes it's hard to get up without teammates and kind of drumming up that personal or that internal motivation. And it's just one of those things too, where if you want to be great, someone else great's busting their hump right now too. So you got to kind of keep pace with them.
Yeah, Brian said a very similar thing to your first point, and he said like a lot of guys get caught up in the fact like I run a workout or I hit the weight room or I do something on Tuesday and it's the best session I've ever had, and then you run well or compete well on Saturday. It's not because you had a great workout on Tuesday. It's not because Tuesday was the best practice. It's because you've stacked on a bunch of days like those Tuesdays, maybe not as good, but a lot of really good days in a row, and you just stack that work one on top of the other. And almost it's like once you decide on that goal, it's almost like you forget about the goal and then you just focus about on each day, what do I need to do to get there? And that's definitely the mindset of a championship athlete, I would think. So that's great.
And one other thing that I can, throw out there is you never know when you're going to break out on the other side of the storm, right? Like,
Right.
so when things aren't going well for you and you just think like, you know what, like no matter what I do, I don't seem to be reaching my goals. Like, you never know like what's going to put you over the edge, because eventually something will. If you stick with something long enough, you will succeed. And sometimes you just hit those plateaus and you just need to stay with it long enough to bust through that wall. Because so
Right.
many people quit because they're like, you know what, there's no point in doing this anymore. Like, I've hit my wall, there's nothing that I can do. And I actually reached that point my sophomore year, or actually my junior year in college. I was a glider, and I was stagnant, and I was just like, you know what, like, I don't know, maybe this isn't for me. Like, maybe I'm just like maxed out and I should take track as seriously as I have been, because like my studies and track, that was it for me. And I decided, you know what, I'm gonna try something different. I'm gonna start throwing shot put rotationally. And once I started doing that, after a couple of months, like, that's when I started getting my big throws. And so if I had just like quit there and be like, you know what, I'm not gonna lift hard anymore, I'm not gonna do any of this stuff, like, I never would have really realized my full potential, because a lot of my better performances happened my junior and my senior year.
Right.
So we all go through it. Like, any athlete that tries to tell you like, hey, look, I've never doubted myself, I've never thought about putting less effort in, they're lying.
Right.
So if that story can help people who are maybe struggling with stuff, like, just keep going for it, because you know what, the worst thing is having the case of the what ifs.
Yeah.
If you choose to let your foot off the gas right now and you choose not to pursue your full potential, and at the end of the day, let's say 10, 15 years from now, you're like, you know what, like, I really regretted doing that. Like, what was my potential? What could I have accomplished? Like,
Mhm.
the case of the what ifs, because that's a question you're never going to answer for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Like, you're never going to know that. But if you lay it all out there, at least when it's all said and done, you close the chapter uh, of track and field in your life, you're going to know, like, okay, I know the answer. Like, this is what I was. This is as good as I could have gotten. You're never going to have any regrets, and you're going to be able to sleep well at night.
Yeah, it's
So,
a special thing to be an athlete, to be on a team, and it is a small window of time. I mean, you've we don't get to do, even though it seems like it's mostly what these guys know because it's what they've lived the last couple of years, 5, 6, 7 years, some of them who are older, and they might get to do it in college. That's like a 10-year window, 12-year window out of your entire life. And that's a small percentage of that time. So you do want to maximize it. But one of the things that you talked about, and I've heard in all three of the interviews so far, is you also build tremendous relationships. When you put yourself all in and you commit to it with the work and the dedication, you also connect with people who've made those same commitments. And those are lifelong friendships. I think about my wedding, and it was all you guys there, all the Geneseo guys and a bunch of Saratoga guys. And that was one thing that we had in common. And, we had a million other types of jokes and things going on, but the root of it was we had that common set of values as athletes, which was cool.
Yeah, no, the camaraderie and just, going through the trials and tribulations of, training and competing, and there's nothing that forges friendship like that,
Yeah.
So it's just, it's a special time. Enjoy it, because it's something I miss like heck. And,
Right.
I was telling my wife, I was just like, I can't believe it's been, 18 years since I graduated. Like, it just seems like just the other day, but
Right.
we're so far on the other side. And it's just like, and then once you graduate college and you start having a profession, life just gets going. And it's just
Yep.
like, it gets hard to have, even try to compete in like twilight meet. I mean, I haven't thrown shot put probably since 2008. So it's just like, sometimes, I mean, runners, you definitely have road races and that sort of stuff, but for
Right.
field
But it's
athletes,
different.
there's no pickup shot put
Right.
matches going on at the East Side Rec or anything like
Right.
that. So
All right, man. Well, it was great catching up, and hopefully, we'll be able to talk soon, but I really appreciate your time.
yeah, no, thanks for having me, Shane. I really appreciate it.
All right.